Welcome to the Department of Grant Compliance and Administration statewide training series, Title IV Part A, Subpart 1, Student Support and Academic Enrichment, Allowable Activities and Use of Funds. I am Lenitra Guess in the Federal Program Compliance Division at the Texas Education Agency. I am the Program Director for the Title IV Part A program. Today's agenda includes program intent and purpose, use of funds, consultation and stakeholders, comprehensive needs assessment, well-rounded educational opportunities, safe and healthy students, effective use of technology, PS 3107 application schedule, waivers and unexpended funds, program evaluation, Title IV Part A program guide, program and fiscal requirements, private school equitable services, and resources. The Title IV Part A Subpart 1 program's intent and purpose is to provide all students with access to well-rounded educational opportunities, to improve school conditions for a safe and healthy student learning environment, and to improve technology for the enhancement of academic outcomes and digital literacy of all students. Use of funds. Use of funds, allowable cost criteria. The LEA must ensure it has prioritized the distribution of funds to schools served by the LEA based on one or more of the following criteria: are among the schools with the greatest needs, have the highest percentage or numbers of children counted, are among the lowest achieving schools, have consistently underperformed student subgroups, or identified as persistently dangerous public elementary school or secondary school. 2. Ensures that the LEA has consulted with private nonprofit schools located within the district boundaries. 3. Ensure that activities and/or resources are supplemental, identified in the Comprehensive Needs Assessment, continued consultation of stakeholders and coordination, reasonable, necessary, allowable, and allowable. 4. Expenditures meet all EDGAR requirements. 5. LEA policies and procedures are followed. 6. Evaluation of student achievement. 7. No more than 15% for purchasing technology infrastructure. Technology infrastructure is defined as devices, equipment, and software. 8. Continued consultation of stakeholders and coordination. TEA recommends LEAs prioritize Title IV Part A funds to implement school safety improvements, including counseling and mental health programs, addressing ways to integrate health and safety practices into school athletic programs, and dissemination of best practices in evaluation of program outcomes related to activities to promote student safety and violence prevention. A few examples of the Title IV Part A activities for LEA school safety are school safety initiatives, counseling, mental health programs, and health and safety practices. disseminating best practices and evaluating program outcomes to promote student safety and violence prevention. Where can one find what is not allowed with Title IV Part A funds? Where? In the program guide, the TEA Budgeting Cost Guidance Handbook, the ESA Consolidated Application Program Guidelines. Those are just a few of the places in which you may find unallowable use of funds. Title IV Part A funds must be used for supplemental activities and services. Therefore, Title IV funds may not be used for any activities and services mandated by state law, rule, regulation, the State Board of Education, or local board. Additional unallowable use of funds are the Title IV Part A Statute General Provisions Section 4000B and 4000C, medical services and drug treatment or rehabilitation that is not integrated through Title IV Part A student supports or referral for treatment, prohibition on mandatory medication. No child shall be required to obtain a prescription for a controlled substance. In the ESA statute, Part F, Subpart 2, Section 8526, it states, federal funds may not be used to provide construction, renovation, or repair. In general, refer to the Budgeting Cost Guidance Handbook in the Training and Other Resources webpage for additional unallowable costs. However, the handbook does not include all federal unallowable costs. Consultation and stakeholders. During the design and development of the Title IV Part A program, an LEA or consortium of LEAs must engage in consultation with stakeholders in the areas served by the LEA. Such stakeholders include, but are not limited to, parents, students, private school officials, specialized instructional support personnel, local government, community-based organizations, principals, teachers, school leaders, Indian tribes, charter school leaders, if applicable, and others with relevant and demonstrated expertise. There are a few frequently asked questions I'd like to share regarding stakeholders. How does the Title IV Part A statute define local government representatives who shall participate during consultation with the program development? Local government representatives are defined as local law enforcement agencies, local juvenile courts, local child welfare agencies, or local public housing agencies. What additional stakeholders should an LEA consider consulting with as it develops the ESA Consolidated Application and plans for Title IV Part A programs and activities? Some of the stakeholders in which you may reach out to are business community, health providers, social workers, librarians, technology experts, service providers, and faith-based community leaders are just a few examples of additional stakeholders an LEA could reach out to. Comprehensive needs assessment. A few comprehensive needs assessment questions to consider are which stakeholders can help identify local needs, what data are needed to best understand those local needs, how should the identified needs be prioritized, are there any evidence-based activities that would address those identified needs, and how does the LEA have the capacity to implement the activity? These are just a few of the questions that the Comprehensive Needs Assessment should review as they prepare to spend Title IV Part A funding based on data and stakeholder input. Once the needs have been identified, stakeholders should select relevant evidence-based activities when evidence is available that will have the likelihood of working in the local context. Evidence-based activities are more likely to improve student outcomes, but the effectiveness also depends on the local context. Example, the alignment of that activity to other efforts underway. For example, the population being served and the local capacity. Plan for implementation. An implementation plan developed without input from stakeholders sets up LEAs in schools for successful implementation. Implement the program activities. Effective implementation of the selected activities is essential to achieving identified goals. Inevitably, there will be unexpected hurdles during implementation, so having an ongoing mechanism to identify and address these issues and to collect information for performance monitoring and evaluation is crucial. Then, the district must examine and reflect. Well-rounded educational opportunities. The purpose of well-rounded education provides an enriched curriculum and education experience to all students. It starts with early learning opportunities that make time for exploration and continues with K-12 education that helps students make important connections among their studies, their curiosities, their passions, and their skills that they need to become critical thinkers and productive members of society. In addition, a well-rounded education promotes a diverse set of learning experiences that engages students across a variety of courses, activities, and programs. These are just a few examples of allowable activities in the well-rounded content area. LEAs must ensure it is supplementing and not supplanting, and that it has met the use of funds allowable cost criteria. For example, foreign language instruction, college and career counseling, STEM, arts and music education, social emotional learning, environmental education, and civics education. Additional well-rounded allowable activity examples are accelerated learning opportunities such as advanced placement, dual and concurrent enrollment programs, early college high schools, and programs and activities that promote volunteering and community involvement. I have listed one of the most common well-rounded education questions on the next slide. May Title IV Part A funds supplement the career and technical education program? Yes. Title IV Part A program funds may be used to support CTE programs and activities in the well-rounded content area. The second content area is safe and healthy students. The purpose of safe and healthy students is to improve school conditions for student learning. When students are healthy and feel safe and supported, they are more likely to succeed in school. These are just a few examples of allowable activities in the Safe and Healthy Students content area. LEAs must ensure that it is supplementing and not supplanting, and that it has met use of funds allowable cost criteria. A few examples are promoting community and parent involvement in schools, school-based mental health services, which could include early identification of mental health symptoms, drug use and violence, and appropriate referrals to direct individual or group counseling services, which may be provided by school-based mental health service providers, and service partnership programs conducted in partnership with a public or private mental health or healthcare facility that provide comprehensive school-based mental health services and support and staff development for school and community personnel working in the school. Establishing or improving a dropout prevention program, supporting reentry programs and transition services for justice-involved youth, supporting a healthy, active lifestyle, including nutritional education and regular structured physical education activities and programs that may address chronic disease management with instruction led by school nurses, nurse practitioners, or others. Implementation of school-wide positive behavioral interventions and supports, including through coordination with similar activities carried out under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act to improve academic outcomes and school conditions for student learning. Evidence-based drug and violence prevention activities and programs, including programs to educate students against the use of alcohol, tobacco, smokeless tobacco products, and e-cigarettes, and professional development and training for school and specialized instructional support personnel and interested community members in the prevention, education, early identification, intervention, mentoring, recovery support services, and where appropriate, rehabilitation referrals related to drug and violence prevention. Establishing learning environments to enhance students' effective learning skills that are essential for school readiness and academic success. Implementing systems to prevent bullying and harassment, and establishing community partnerships are just a few safe and healthy students allowable activities. There are a few frequently asked questions regarding safe and healthy students. May an LEA use Title IV Part A funds to purchase a phone or software threat machine that interprets electronic threats to and from students? No. A phone software threat machine does not meet the requirement of a reasonable and necessary Title IV Part A purchase. Our most popular question over the past year has been, may Title IV Part A funds support LEA staff or security personnel to attend virtual practice or active shooter drills? No. Title IV Part A funds may not support any virtual practice or active shooter drills. The LEA may prorate training for instruction-led sessions, which exclude personnel using real or fake weapons. May Title IV Part A program funds in the Safe and Healthy Students content area be used to support parents? Yes. Promoting community and parent involvement in schools is an allowable activity in this content area. Is there a requirement for LEAs receiving an allocation of at least $30,000 to include parents in the design and development of Title IV Part A programs and activities? Yes. An LEA must include parents as a required stakeholder to provide program input. Funds may also be used to promote the involvement of parents in the program activities during the development, implementation, and evaluation of comprehensive Title IV Part A program activities. And the third content area is effective use of technology. The purpose of effective use of technology is to increase the effective use of the technology to improve the academic achievement, academic growth, and digital literacy of all students. When designed and thoughtfully applied, technology can accelerate and expand the impact of effective practices that support student learning, increase community engagement, foster safe and healthy environments, and enable well-rounded educational opportunities. Technology can expand growth opportunities for all students while affording historically disadvantaged students greater equity of access. Such opportunities can also support increased capacity for educators to create blended learning opportunities for their students, rethinking when and where how students complete different components of a learning experience. These are just a few examples of allowable activities in the effective use of technology content area. LEAs must ensure it is supplementing and not supplanting, and that it has met the use of funds allowable cost criteria. A few examples are supporting high-quality staff, professional development to improve academic achievement, building technological capacity and infrastructure, providing students in rural, remote, and underserved areas digital learning opportunities, delivering specialized courses using technology, which includes digital learning and assistive technology. Now I would like to share a few of the most recent Title IV Part A frequently asked questions regarding the use of technology. May non-Title IV Part A LEA staff attend training supported with Title IV Part A funds? Yes, only if the LEA staff has documentation of working and/or delivering Title IV Part A services. If the district personnel does not have supporting or auditable documentation of working with Title IV Part A services, the staff may not use Title IV Part A program funds to attend professional development, trainings, and opportunities. Title IV Part A, Subpart 1, PS 3107, ESA Consolidated Application Schedule. This is a screenshot of the PS 3107 Title IV Part A schedule, Part 1, Section B. The planned uses of funds indicate which content area the funds will be used for during the school year. In addition, it also includes the budgeted limitations. If an LEA has an allocation of $30,000 or more, it must set aside a minimum of 20% in both well-rounded education and safe and healthy student activities. In addition, an LEA with an allocation of at least $30,000 or more must also set aside funding for the effective use of technology. An LEA that receives an allocation of at least $30,000 or more must conduct a comprehensive needs assessment with required stakeholders, assure it is prioritizing the distribution of Title IV Part A program funds on the PS 3107 Part A Schedule Part 2. On the PS 3107 Schedule Parts C through F are the program requirement assurances. These assurances are related to supplemental, not supplant, and the LEA must assure that funds will supplement and not supplant non-federal funds that would otherwise be used for these activities. It must also assure that all activities and programs provide access to and opportunities in the areas of well-rounded educational opportunities, safe and healthy students, and effective uses of technology. One of the most frequently asked topics is regarding the Title IV Part A approved waivers for the 2020 through 2021 school year. TEA has received approved waivers for the following requirements for 2020-2021 school year. The comprehensive needs assessment requirement is waived for those LEAs with an allocation at $30,000 or more. The content area spending requirements of 20% for well-rounded education and 20% for safe and healthy students is waived for those LEAs with an allocation at or above $30,000. The portion of funds requirement for those districts with at least $30,000 is waived in the area of use of technology. The 15% spending limitation for technology infrastructure is waived. These waivers are only for the school year 2020-2021. Program evaluation. In the ESA Consolidated Application Title IV Part A Program Guidelines, as well as the Title IV Part A Program Guide, it lists requirements regarding the program evaluation for the Title IV program. First, an LEA must periodically evaluate effectiveness of the activities to support the program objectives and intended outcomes. An LEA must annually submit a report regarding how funds are used to meet the distribution requirements. Also, an LEA must state how the expenditures will be evaluated to measure a positive impact on student achievement. Frequently asked questions about program evaluation. Is an evaluation of the Title IV Part A program required if private nonprofit schools participate in any program equitable services? Yes, the evaluation of services and how the results will be used must be discussed during ongoing consultation meetings. Title IV, Part A, Program Guide. The Program Guide resource provides general program information and should not be perceived as an all-inclusive listing of all statutory requirements for the Title IV Part A program. Upon certification and submission of the ESA Consolidated Federal Grant application, LEAs certify that they will comply with all requirements noted in statute. Please note that any sample language provided in sections of this guide are examples of what LEAs and/or campuses could use as a guide. It is not meant for an LEA to copy and paste verbatim, as LEA policies and procedures may be different than what is provided as sample language. This is the cover page for the Title IV Part A, Subpart 1, Student Support and Academic Enrichment Program Guide. This is a sample of the Title IV Part A Program Guide's table of contents. I have highlighted the required consultation and stakeholder section for our discussion. This is a selected requirement in the general program area that's listed in the Title IV Part A Program Guide. LEAs may use this list along with the statute links to ensure it's meeting the program requirements. This is where LEAs may receive more information regarding Title IV Part A, timely and meaningful consultation with stakeholders. In addition, there are other resources and information regarding stakeholders that could provide guidance, statute references, and common frequently asked questions for LEAs during the required comprehensive needs assessment. I will be sharing just a few of the program and fiscal requirements. Title IV Part A funds must supplement other state and local funds that would otherwise be available for activities authorized under the program. Grant funds may not be used for the cost of activities and programs that support the purpose of Title IV Part A if it is mandated by state law or rule or local policy. Districts must review the following to ensure the Title IV Part A activities and expenses are supplemental: the Texas Education Code, the Texas Administrative Code, and district and local board policies. For more detailed information about supplement, not supplant, you may view the TEA Supplement, Not Supplant Handbook. LEAs must engage in ongoing timely and meaningful consultation with stakeholders in the area served by the LEA to identify relevant evidence-based activities to carry out the goals of the program. An LEA must continue to consult with stakeholders to improve the activities it conducts under the program and coordinate with the stakeholders regarding strategies, programs, and activities. An LEA is required to have a comprehensive needs assessment. The LEA must increase opportunities and access for all students through grade 12 who are members of groups underrepresented, such as female students, minority students, English learners, children with disabilities, economically disadvantaged students, and students in rural, remote, and underserved areas. LEAs must provide a description of the funded programs and activities related to supporting a well-rounded education, safe and healthy students, the effective use of technology in schools, and the program objectives and intended outcomes of those activities. An LEA must also periodically evaluate the effectiveness of the activities carried out to support the program objectives and intended outcomes. Annually, the LEA must submit a report regarding how funds for the Title IV Part A program are being used to meet the distribution requirements above. If an LEA receives a Title IV Part A allocation greater than $30,000, it must meet set-aside requirements of 20% in both well-rounded and safe and healthy students. In addition, it must use no more than 15% in technology infrastructure purchases. Infrastructure purchases would include devices, equipment, and software applications to address readiness shortfalls, blended learning technology software and platforms, digital instructional resources, initial professional development activities, and one-time information technology purchases. Purchases for technology infrastructure may not include significant construction or the renovation of facilities. The remaining 85% of the funds for this may be used for professional development in the use of technology and data. These are important requirements an LEA must meet if it receives an allocation less than $30,000. Ongoing consultation with stakeholders, provide assurances in at least one of the content areas, prioritization in distribution of funds is required. LEAs must maintain documented evidence of how the priorities were determined. However, there is no comprehensive needs assessment required. Educational field trips, student competitions, and out-of-state travel may be funded under the following conditions. It is identified in the Comprehensive Needs Assessment, included in the Campus Improvement Plan, is allocable, reasonable, and necessary to carry out the intent and purpose of the grant program, includes an instructional activity or activities that cannot be conducted through the interactive activities in the classroom or on campus, will result in a positive impact on student achievement, includes instruction that addresses the Texas essential knowledge and skills. It includes an evaluation of the trip that measures the impact on student achievement. If an LEA plans to use grant funds for educational student travel, it will be required to complete the appropriate TEA justification form and retain the document at the local level. Travel costs to and from a specific and allowable Title IV Part A activity such as robotics competition or other nonprofit competitions related to STEM subjects are not prohibited and will be evaluated in accordance with federal and state guidance. Out-of-state costs are allowable but should be minimal. LEAs must keep and maintain documentation so that it may be provided to TEA or an independent auditor if selected for a program review. This slide gives just a few of those program requirements that I discussed earlier. In the ESSA Consolidated Application Title IV Part A Guidelines, the Title IV Part A Program Guide, and the Allowable Cost and Budgeting Guidance, there are additional requirements and information for educationally related travel. I will share a few frequently asked questions regarding Title IV Part A and travel. Are field trips an allowable activity with Title IV Part A funds? Yes, only if the LEA meets conditions that are listed in the Title IV Part A program guide, the TEA Budgeting Cost Guidance Handbook, and the Title IV Part A program guidelines. In addition, a request for specific expenditure justification, educational field trip form, should be completed and maintained locally and provided when requested by TEA. What are educationally related field trip examples that may be supported with Title IV Part A funds? Here are just a few examples. Curricular academic activities focused on math, science, and technology, trips to the local library to increase access to high-interest reading materials or research, laboratory and field investigation instruction used to improve students' understanding of science TEKS objectives. You may find additional examples in the Title IV Part A program guide, the Title IV Part A program guidelines in the ESA Consolidated application, the TEA Budgeting Cost Guidance Handbook, as well as the Title IV Part A non-regulatory guidance that the USDE puts out. May Title IV Part A funds be used for out-of-state professional development opportunities and/or competitions? Yes, however, out-of-state travel should be minimal. You may receive more details regarding out-of-state opportunities and travel using Title IV Part A funds through the Title IV Part A Program Guide and the TEA Budgeting Cost Guidance Handbook. Private school equitable services. LEAs are required to comply with the uniform provisions for providing equitable services to private schools as specified in the ESA Title VIII, Section 8501 statute. The LEA is required to provide timely and meaningful consultation with eligible private schools located within the school district. A signed consultation of affirmation form is required from all LEAs with participating private schools for Title IV Part A equitable services. The PS 3099 form is the private school equitable services schedule located in the ESA Consolidated application in eGrants. The PS 3099 incorporates a formula for determining private school services for Title IV programs. An LEA must submit the PS 3099 and indicate if private nonprofit schools will participate with Title IV or not. This schedule calculates participating private nonprofit schools' equitable allocations for services. All educational services or other benefits, including materials and equipment, shall be secular, neutral, and non-ideological. The LEA must ensure control of funds entitled to all materials, equipment, and properties purchased, and all purchases belong to the LEA should be documented on its inventory list and labeled prior to private school use. This is a copy of the private school schedule PS 3099 Part 1. As you can see in Part 1, Section B, there is a Title IV Part A section that has been highlighted. If there are private nonprofit schools participating, the district would select yes for Title IV. In addition, if there are participation of private schools for Title IV, the LEA would complete Section F. In Section F, they would indicate the total student enrollment in participating private schools from the ages of 5 through 17. They would also include the student enrollment in the LEA for those students ages 5 and 17 as well. This spreadsheet would give a calculated private school reservation that the private schools would use for equitable services. The LEA would indicate on the affirmation of consultation form under the private nonprofit school participation if there are eligible private schools that will be participating with the Title IV Part A program. In addition, for each grant program in which the private nonprofit school will receive services, the private nonprofit official has a consultation with the LEA to determine if timely and meaningful consultation has occurred and if the program design is equitable with respect to their eligible private school children. Frequently asked questions regarding PNP equitable services. Which private nonprofit students are eligible to receive Title IV Part A equitable services? Private school students enrolled in a private nonprofit elementary or secondary schools, including those in religiously affiliated schools that are located in the district, are eligible to receive services. Is the residency of a private school student a factor that must be considered when determining whether a student is eligible to receive Title IV Part A equitable services? No. Students who are enrolled in private nonprofit elementary and secondary schools located in areas served by an LEA are eligible to receive Title IV Part A services. A student's residency is not a factor, even if a student resides in another state or another district that is different than the current district in which the private school building is located. May Title IV Part A equitable services be used for participating PNP schools to purchase student laptops and/or electronics? Yes. Equitable services may be used to purchase technology for instructional purposes. All technology must be maintained in the control of the district, in the district's inventory, and district monitored for only secular, neutral, and non-ideological uses. During consultation, the LEA and private school should discuss how electronic devices may be monitored to ensure no religious content is accessible. If a PNP school has Title IV Part A equitable services remaining and declines continued participation or closes, what happens with the remaining funds for equitable services? The unexpended funds for equitable services are considered additional funds for services in both public and participating PNP schools the subsequent year on an equitable basis. The only time that you may use those funds for public and participating private schools during the same school year would be if those funds are declined or services or the private school closes earlier in the school year. When should LEAs calculate equitable shares if it plans to transfer or reap Title IV Part A funds? Before an LEA may transfer or reap funds, it must engage in timely and meaningful consultation with private nonprofit school officials. LEAs must provide PNP school students and staff equitable services under the programs to and from which the funds are transferred or reaped based on the amount of funds to each program. If an LEA transfers or reaps 100% of Title IV Part A funds, is it still required to consult with stakeholders and private school officials? Yes. The LEA is not exempt from consulting with stakeholders or private school officials. If the LEA is considering a transfer, they must engage in timely and meaningful consultation with appropriate private school officials before transferring funds. Therefore, the stakeholder engagement process is an eligibility requirement and must be fulfilled in order to obtain a Title IV Part A subgrant. After the subgrant is received, the LEA can make decisions regarding transferring or reaping services in the Title IV Part A program. May an LEA transfer only those funds that are to be used for equitable services to private school students or teachers? No. An LEA may not transfer funds to a particular program solely to provide equitable services for private school students or teachers. Rather, an LEA, after consulting with appropriate private school officials, must provide equitable services to private school students and teachers based on the rules of each program and the total amount of funds available to each program after the transfer. Now I will share a few resources. Have you been searching for answers to a Title IV question and didn't know where to look? The statute was too long, boring, stuffy, and legalistic. You needed an answer a week ago, and you're still waiting for someone to call back with a response. Wait no longer. Now you can find answers to many Title IV Part A program-related questions in a matter of minutes. So where would you look? TEA has several resources to assist the LEAs, ESCs, consultants, private schools, and other stakeholders available at your fingertips. The Federal Program Compliance Division webpage, the Title IV Part A program webpage, the Title IV Part A program webinar, Title IV Part A program guide, Title IV Part A frequently asked questions, the ESA Consolidated Plan Application Program Guidelines, and the program-specific ESA provisions and assurances. However, if you would rather call or email TEA, we are always available to serve you. In addition, ESCs are available to provide assistance to LEAs as well. This slide shows a section of our TEA Title IV Part A webpage. Also on our website, there is the statewide Title IV Part A use of funds data by year. For 2019-2020, we have listed the content areas of well-rounded education, safe and healthy students, and effective use of technology. Within those content areas, we have listed the number of LEAs that participated with each area and the amount that the LEAs have spent across the state in those particular areas. As you can see, safe and healthy students were the #1 priority in both the 2018-2019 school year and 2019-2020 school year. For last year, we had 456 LEAs that participated in allowable activities in the area of safe and healthy students. Another resource on the Title IV Part A webpage that may be useful is the Title IV Part A Frequently Asked Question document. This document includes the most common questions asked by LEAs, private nonprofit school officials, ESCs, parents, and other stakeholders related to Title IV Part A programs. These questions asked are provided a response by TEA and, when necessary, the U.S. Department of Education Office of General Counsel. Another great resource that is available to provide documents, tools, and assistance is the Title IV Part A School Safety State Initiative. The goal of the state initiative at ESC 14 is to provide guidance and resources to schools, education service centers, and parents about Title IV Part A related programs regarding state-required school safety and mental health requirements and other state resources on related topics. The contacts for the state initiative at ESC 14 are Rod Pruitt and Nancy Gale. Later, take some time to review their website for the many Title IV related resources that are free to you. The USDE Title IV Part A non-regulatory guidance was published in October 2016. This guidance provides key information on the provisions of the Title IV Part A program, including the allowable uses of funds, fiscal responsibilities, and the LEA application requirements. In addition, the guidance provides district examples of innovative activities that demonstrate the Title IV Part A program allowable uses of funds. I have listed the ESA Title IV Part A statute, the USDE non-regulatory guidance, and the National Center on Safe Supportive Learning Environments that USDE provides as resources. The program contact. If there are Title IV Part A questions, feel free to contact me by email or phone. Thank you.